Hello Swapper shoppers, on today's video I went shopping, struggled to make a meal plan, and then 3, contemplated whether or not this is even worth it. So I'm going to join you at the supermarket where I was having a look for some interesting new foods. Didn't get very far. Have a look. So part 1 of removing the ultra processed food is to ultimately try and get some fresh produce. So starting with some salmon, with some smoked haddock. I'm going to see what else I can get, probably some chicken, maybe some pork. The goal, of course, being to try and avoid eating anything ultra-processed, which includes avoiding things like sausages, any kind of meat products that have excess sugar on, things that have been processed in a way that I don't want to eat. So far I've got boneless smoked haddock, I've got British lean beef mince, I've got some bananas, I've also got some boneless salmon fillets, and of course some apples. Well, so far the main thing that we've discovered is that you can put a load of ingredients in your shopping trolley, like tomatoes, but you don't really know what to do with them. For example, normally you get some fish, for example, and get a ready-made sauce, or for example you'd have spag bowls. We've got some mince, but then you'd have to buy a jar of sauce, which is ultra-processed, but then you have to make the sauce. So you end up with a load of ingredients that you actually don't know what to do with them. But of course, ultra-processed food is not far away. This is right near the meat aisle. So of course, the whole point was to go shopping and get things that are not ultra-processed. So we've got everything from peppers to tomatoes, cucumber, potatoes, apples, carrots, 2 packs of chicken, some haddock fillets, salmon, mince, mushrooms, lots of bananas, broccoli. We've got things to make bread, we've got lettuce, we've got some beef, got some rice, and also just some little things of passata, little seasoning, which is basically just salt and things, and spaghetti. So all of this is going to try and feed us for a week. Now you'll see there's no things like crisps or biscuits or jarred sauces. We're going to have to try and make any kind of sauces that we're having using all of this and some just typical household ingredients. So wish us luck. When I went to the supermarket, I was expecting it to be a lot easier than it actually was. I mean, we went down so many of the aisles and you just don't know what to put in your trolley. It's just every little thing that you think that you can have, you can no longer have. So you can't have cereal because the 99% of the cereals on the market are all ultra-processed. You then think, oh, I can have some pasta with some sauce, but then you got to think, no, actually, I've got to make the sauce from scratch because otherwise they're all ultra-processed. So, for example, we was going to have a salad. Salads aren't usually the most interesting things. So I said, right, we'll get some ham, right? Ham's okay for the salad, but no, ham is actually ultra-processed. If you actually look into it, then you find all sorts of things that have been added, the ways it's been manufactured, preservatives to try and make it last longer in your fridge. It's actually pretty surprising. So I thought, okay, I can't have ham. One thing I do like in my salads is some croutons, but you can't have croutons because croutons are ultra processed. If you look on the back of an ingredients list, there's an awful lot. Now, you may be sat there thinking, okay, well, just make your own croutons. All you need to do is just dry up some bread. Pretty much easy, right? You can make your own croutons. Yeah, but the bread that you're buying is ultra-processed. And it's really frustrating because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of people on podcasts these days are basically saying everything's ultra-processed, you need to avoid it. But how can you avoid ultra-processed food? Well, the only thing I've managed to do so far is I've managed to put a slow cooker beef casserole on. But even then, if you buy gravy granules are actually ultra-processed foods. If you look on the back of them, you see all these types of ingredients. They're not good for you. But you can't really just make your own gravy all the time because to trying to get the meat juices from certain products and buying the right types of cuts of meats and it being large enough so there's enough juices in it, adding the right things so it's got the right amount of flavour, it's just an awful lot. And I'm finding it very difficult. So, snack-wise, apples, got some bananas, and I've got a tub of mixed nuts so far. That's about it. There are loads of recipes online. that you can create your own foods, but then it's a matter of time. If you buy a jarred sauce, it's ready to go. You just need to get your pasta on, get your meat on, maybe a little bit of veg, put it together, bish bash bosh, it's all done. If you can't do that, then you've got to make the sauce from scratch. And then you've got to buy all the raw ingredients. Then you've got to do things like simmer the tomatoes, add the right things, then blitz it with a blender, and then heat it through, and then any that's left over, then got to think, right, how long is it going to last in the fridge? Probably not very long, but if you buy the jarred sauce, because they've got preservatives in, they'll last for ages. You know, at least a lot longer than what you're making with fresh, because obviously they're designed to last a long time. So I was thinking I could make some salads. So I've got some cucumber, I've got tomato, I've got some lettuce, and then what else did I get? I think I decided to go with chicken. So I thought I'd get some chicken, cook it myself, and then shred it. And then I needed some kind of like mayo or sauce with it, for example. But you can't have mayo or kind of any dressings because they're all ultra processed. Arguably, you could have it in very small quantities, but the whole point is I'm trying to understand how to make things from scratch. So then I was like, okay, I'll have some kind of very vinaigrette dressing. Yes, you can have a vinaigrette dressing, but a lot of them are ultra processed again because they've got added salts, sugars, all this preservatives and whatever. But I had to give in the end. I've had to get a vinaigrette ready-made dressing because, yes, I could buy all the ingredients to make one myself, but I've only got so much cupboard space and I've only got so much time in my busy day. How am I supposed to fit it all in? That's the question. Also, what I realised is the expense of it all. Buying fresh products that you're trying to make your own meals out of is incredibly expensive. We barely manage to get enough to cover us for a week. And a few of those days, we don't actually need meals because we're out doing bits and bobs. So this isn't even a normal full week shop, but we still spent nearly the same as what we'd already spend if we're buying ultra processed stuff. But we haven't really got a lot to show for it. We came back with like 2 bags full of shopping, but actually, when you put it all in, we've got things like tomatoes, cucumber, like I say, some potatoes, and we've got some peppers and stuff. But like by the time you add all this up together, it's an awful lot of money for not a lot of food, which is quite frustrating. Yes, the portion sizes are therefore going to be smaller as well. But arguably, the value of the food nutrition-wise is going to be substantially better than, of course, the processed food equivalent. For example, I have a ready-made pizza in the freezer. So for lunch, I could have the ready-made pizza, stick it in the oven, takes 20 minutes, and that would probably fill me for a majority of the day because it's quite big. But that is probably the unhealthiest thing I can think to eat. Alternatively, I can make my own salad, but as I've just described, by the time you get all of the ingredients, it's about 3 times the cost of that pizza, and then you're in a predicament because it depends how many people you're cooking for. If there's only one person you're cooking for, then you're going to end up buying those mixed veg bags, but then they don't always have exactly what you want. For example, they don't have tomatoes in usually. You could get one of the pots, but then you're buying things that are covered in plastic and you just waste half of it because it's just full of kale and just things that not everyone particularly fancies. You want things that are really nutritious and full of flavour. But I'm really struggling, to be fair. Like this morning, this is the last day, like I say, of me eating ultra-processed food because today is Sunday, Father's Day, and I had a bowl of cereal. But I was weighing out my bowl of cereal and it says you recommended to have about 40 grams. I put 40 grams in. Honestly, it was like a few. It was the Weetabix Minis. I believe I've got the packet still here. These Weetabix Crispy Minis. Yeah, you get about maybe 10 little things, and that's your portion size. I worked out that on average, I'm nearly consuming double. So if you're consuming double, then just in calories, that's about 300 to 400 calories, depending on the exact portion I do. Then I've got to add milk, so let's assume that's another 50 to 100 calories, just at a ballpark guess. That's 500 calories before I've even started the day. And then it'll get to lunch, and then I'll think, right, I need to have some lunch. Then I need to have a snack after lunch. Then I need to have a mid-afternoon snack. Then I have to have my dinner / tea, whatever you're choosing to call it. Then I'm probably going to have dessert after that, and then I've got to have a snack after that. And that's my problem. The ultra processed food that you're eating is causing you to be hungry throughout the whole day. So when people say about fasting diets, for example, I do believe there is a place and a time for fasting, or a time and a place. But you have to then think, what is the food that you're actually eating when you are eating? Because it's probably going to make you more hungry and therefore not satisfy you. So looking around, what do I eat? That's the problem. So I need suggestions from you guys in the comments. I have done a lot of research online. A lot of the research is one of two ways. It is either very, very processed food that you can eat, such as the lasagna ready meals that I've been reviewing, and you can quite easily eat them. That'll get you by, don't worry. Or it's the other way. It seems to be you have to make absolutely everything from scratch. You need about 50 million ingredients. You need about 70 different kitchen appliances to be able to cook it. It takes about 2 business days to actually cook. And then by the time you do it, then you've spent about 80 quid just on yourself for one person per week shopping, which isn't reasonable, of course. We're not in a position financially as a country where we can afford to do that. So yeah, buying penguin bars and things is going to be cheaper, because if you buy a pack of penguins for £1.50, then there's more calories and actual nutrition in it, but the type of nutrition is worse. So, a little bit of a rant over, but that's where I'm at. So the series moving forwards is going to be me essentially figuring out how on earth I can feed myself without having to go down the ultra processed route, because avoiding it is proving difficult.